Programming is hard, huh? It is a tricky one. And if it ever feels like it's the type of thing that it's just still not clicking, that's okay. Even though we're already on the soon to be 5th project of this course, we're going to continue reiterating over similar concepts so that you can actually really go over the same programming concepts over and over again. Even though it's a little bit of a cliche saying, practice makes perfect, and programming is no exception.
It's really interesting as well, Stephen. For me, I have to do concepts over and over and over, programming wise, to really have them embed. And one of the things that's helped me a lot is taking a moment to have a look at other languages or other engines. Now, obviously, we're in Unity here. It's good to specialize and to focus and to get good at one engine, but don't be afraid to dabble in other engines and other languages, because it allows you to reinforce the concepts. So for me, it's a really crazy example, but I went and spent some time using Scratch, which is a very rudimentary, visual drag and drop kind of programming language. And for me, within there was a concept of events, that Scratch uses events a lot, and it uses it in a very simple way. And by doing that and playing around with events in Scratch, I was like, oh, now I really get why we would use them and when we would use them and how we would use them. And that concept transfers back into Unity and C# and Unity events and so on. So don't be afraid of having a look around at other things. Try to focus and specialize, and don't wander off and tomorrow I'm going to learn how to make music and spend the next year on that. And then I'm going to learn how to be an illustrator and spend 2 years on that. You're going to be a little bit focused, I think, but not be afraid to bounce around. And the other thing I wanted to say, sort of related to that, is when you find something that you're good at or you're stronger at and you like and you enjoy, think of how you can have that more prominent in the way that you make games. So for me, naturally, I'm a designer, I'm a visual designer, I'm a level designer. I like gameplay tuning. I like to take a feature and then see how I can turn it all the way to -1,000 and positive 10,000 to see how that changes the game. I like that more so than getting into the code and trying to come up with a clever programmatical architecture that solves the problem that I'm trying to solve. So I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses, and I know that I'm not a 2D illustrator. And so I'm not going to try to go make a game that's all about 2D art. And I know I'm not a great modeler, so I'm not going to go try to make a game that's all about amazing looking 3D graphics. But I'm a great level designer, so I'm going to focus on a game where I can place things in a certain place and have things triggered and have events and have moments and have some sort of progression for the player. And so think about what you're enjoying at this stage of the course. We've worked on a number of projects now. What are you enjoying? What do you think you're good at? What do you think you'd like to do more of? And then when you're figuring what sort of games am I going to make, really focus on your strengths and try to have your weaknesses be as minimal as possible.
And one thing that's really important throughout most of game dev, if not all of game dev, is not being afraid to not reinvent the wheel. Once you do find what your strengths might be, you can go lean on other people's projects. The Unity Asset Store has a bunch of free Unity assets, tons even just provided by Unity Technologies themselves. You can go download those projects and actually just start poking through the projects to see how they have it set up, whether it's something visual or whether it is a mechanic programming sort of feature. You can dive into their code, open up VS Code and open up your own editor and just spend hours diving through how someone else has already done it, just so you don't have to reinvent the wheel and struggle your way through some of those concepts.
Yeah, and you mentioned asset packs. Asset packs can be code, it can be project templates, and super importantly, it can be art assets. And there's a little bit of a conversation out there in the game development community that, don't use asset packs because it's cheating, or the players will recognize the assets and they'll be fatigued with it. I don't know. As a player, I never look at a game and think, hang on a minute, where did these assets come from? I think, am I enjoying myself? Yes or no? Is this a cool game? Yes or no? And so don't be afraid to use assets, particularly if you're a little bit more programmery in your brain. Just go get some free assets or pay $10, $20, $30 for some assets and allow that to give you a head start in your game project. And don't get stressed about, where am I going to get UI elements from? Just go get asset packs.
And speaking of assets, Inside of the next section, Sharpshooter, we're actually going to be using a first-person controller asset just directly from Unity. When it comes to things like first-person controllers or a third-person controller, there are thousands of them. You're not the first person to create a first-person controller. And sometimes creating something like a first-person shooter controller can take a long time to get right. I've always said it's really easy to create a kind of crappy controller, but it's really hard to create a good controller. And so one of the things that we can actually do is use something like a first-person controller asset and then build on top of it. And guess what? That's exactly what we're going to do in the next section, Sharpshooter. When you're ready to dive in, I'll see you there.